What's the international break look like at Huddersfield for you?
Yeah, well, yeah, busy. We, I don't know what it is, but we every time we seem to come back from Catalan, we seem to pick up fair few like bugs and colds and like stuff like out of the ordinary that we've not seen for a while. So a lot of the players were very ill last week. There's still a bit of a tail over this week as well. We gave them because we was in France for 4 days. We gave them the start of the 4 days off, expecting something to kind of crop up or hoping it wouldn't be too much, and then get back do full training again at the back end of the week. So we came in at the back end of the week, but we only had 13 players available for that one. And then we've had a little bit of a carryover this week. So yeah, it's been interesting. Every time we've been over to Catalan, just recently, we've ended up coming back and having people not so well. So yeah, um, a busy one, should I say, since we've come back, especially for like the medical team as well.
I'm guessing it's the plane, isn't it? It's the journey, isn't it? I think a lot of people come back from holiday
Yeah,
with
we
with
don't know
is
what it is, mate. It must be something to do with the air conditioning or something, or the plane, or I don't know. It just seems to be strange that the times we've come back from Catalan, we've ended up picking up a hell of a lot of bugs. I don't know if that's been just us or whether it's been some of the other teams, but I believe Lee got something the week before as well, apparently, or certain people did, from what I've been told.
interesting, isn't it? So
Yeah.
the 21 man squad that you were released, are the players touch and go? Is that 21 rather optimistic 21?
Yeah, yeah. We'll
Are
we'll
you,
see- we'll know more. We're fingers crossed no one goes down or that everybody's all right. So yeah.
so you anticipating a few last minute calls really ahead of Friday?
Oh yeah, we've probably got one, we think. But other than that, what you call it? Hopefully, we should be okay.
Talking of okay, how's Ollie Wilson pulled up after his international debut, and what were your thoughts?
Oh yeah, Listen, I thought Ollie's really really deserved it. I had a chat with Sean in the week before we played Catalan, and I just said he's deserved it. He's done everything he's needed to do over the last few years. I mean, when I first came here, we were talking about Ollie, about trying to get him to that next level and try and help his game become there. And I think he's got there now, and he's deserved getting the recognition of his performances by being selected for England. I think he's been one of the form kind of young front rowers, if you like, in the competition. The way he carries the ball, carries it hard. He works hard defensively. Probably sometimes a little bit over too keen. You're seeing, I think, on the kick pressure where he caught the French lad, but he's doing it because he's wanting to work hard for the team and do the right thing. So I think he's come a hell of a long way in 3 years as Ollie Wilson. He deserved his England call up, mate. I thought he did well.
Craig Lingard's just told us that Sam Wood's gone for the season with an injury picked up, and he was just saying it's more frustrating given the sort of lackluster event. He was sort of said
Yeah.
it's rather frustrating. He said it was a bit of an embarrassment, really, that the event didn't really match the accolade of the player getting that pinnacle of an England
Yeah.
representation. Have you got any thoughts in that direction?
Oh, I think the accolade is playing for England and getting selected to play for England. Ollie Wilson's got a little bit of a niggle from that game, but we'll see where he gets to from there. But he'd rather play for England than not play for England, and you'd rather him get that recognition. Sam Wood, great kid, somebody we never wanted to let go, or never somebody I didn't want to leave Huddersfield as well, and he's got the recognition on the back of a great season of what he's done as well. And I'm sure if you ask Sam Wood, I'm sure he's really appreciative of the recognition and the call up that he got for England as well. So it's not nice that he's picked up an injury. You never want them to pick up injuries, but that's where they want to play. They want to play international. If they've got ambitions and dreams, they want to play for England.
You've been an international player, you've been an international coach. Have you got any ideas as to how we make that sort of fixture look better?
Or I think, yeah, I don't know. Being on, I think the game misses a little bit by it not being on TV and not being as accessible. Saturday, I was really keen to hopefully watch you go and hopefully watch Ollie Wilson the way that they went and watch some of the younger players. I went and watched the England Academy game the other night, and I thought that was a really good spectacle as well. But it was on YouTube, but at least you could probably access it if you didn't go to the game. I think it's the publicity in and around it. You want the best games. and the international games being on TV. You look at the rugby union, what they do, and all their international games are all on TV, and they're well publicised and they're well promoted. And I think that's what obviously what we need to do, because we want to make the international game a sought after game, if you like.
Yeah, well said. Just could you just update us on a couple of the guys that aren't in the squad? And is this down to the illness or whatever? Isan and Sam Hewitt and Ash Golding.
Yeah, Isan's out for a fair while. Ash has got a bit of a twinge. Who else was there?
Sam Hewitt.
Oh, some concussion from the game. More last 5 minutes. If you noticed, he got took down there, so he was treated as like a category 1. So yeah, so we've had a few kind of issues come out of the back of the Catalan game, but it's unfortunately it's what you've got to deal with. It's the game. The game's a physical game. It's a tough game. So yeah.
How long's a fair while for Isan then?
Could be up to 8 weeks. Yeah, could be up to 8 weeks. Maybe I don't know. Depends on how he heals. He's in a brace at the moment, so we'll see where that one gets to.
And what is it?
Knee. His knee. Yeah, he's done his like a bit of a meniscus MCL kind of injury. But yeah, no, he's in a brace at the moment. He did it in the game, and then he kind of tried to continue on because we was getting a real flow to us in the second half, and he was trying to push through it, but obviously I think he got a knock, and then that was it. He just couldn't get back up from that, so we obviously had to get him off at the back end.
Same question I just asked Craig Lingard, really. Who does that open the door for in the centres then?
Oh, luckily, we've obviously got somebody like Jake Bibby who's not played for the last couple of weeks as well, and Jake's raring to go, so he'll get an opportunity to kind of come in there and kind of stake his claim. Jake's been a top player for a number of kind of years as well, so we're more than confident that Jake can step in there and perform, although Isan was performing obviously at a very high level before his injury.
And just on your Jakes, Jake Connor's still in that 21. Is there potential yet for him to return to the 17?
Yeah, potentially. We'll see as we'll see.
And Aidan McGowan's in the 21. Just can you give us an oversight into where you feel he is? He's obviously developing away from the club, and how far you feel he is away from potentially making that long-awaited Super League debut?
Not far off, mate. A champion kid, absolute champion kid. When you kind of want to build a team, and the good thing is like with Aidan, with Connor Carr, and some of the other guys, they've been in the system for like 3 years now since I've been here, and you're seeing off them that they're starting to do things that you've been teaching within the first team, and you're trying to get the first team members to do. And sometimes that's hard when you keep swapping and changing players at the end of every year. Aidan's showing signs of doing all them things, but when he's been there for 3 years, you're confident now of where he's got to, because for the young players, it was about developing him. You look at Sam Hewitt, and Sam Hewitt went through kind of a stage of kind of developing, sending him out to Halifax, sending him out to Wakefield to try and learn on the job. Aidan's done that at Bradford, at Batley, a couple of other teams as well, where we sent, I think York, we sent him to the first year, I think I was here. And he's been developing kind of slowly, but he's getting to a number of games now where, you know, we can put him in the first team and he'd hold his own and do a job. But more importantly, is probably the way he carries himself in terms of a professional. Is what you want. He's one of the first there. He trains to the best of his ability all the time, no questions asked, and he's always on the field last, doing his extras. He's like I said, he's a champion kid. If anybody deserves a debut out of any young player, he deserves a debut, mate, in terms of how hard he works and how he goes about his career.
And he's Huddersfield through and through, isn't he? There's no other club that he would want to make a Super League debut for than Huddersfield. Yeah. How does he make it? How does that happen?
Yeah, it's what you call it. It was more about developing and biding his time. Like I say, we've brought him back here. He's pretty close to playing this week. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, he's one. We're excited about Aidan and Aidan kind of playing just because of him, and just because about how he's done in terms of preparing for his career. So yeah, I'm really excited to see Aidan play.
Brilliant. Warrington then Is it fair to say you might owe them one after the Challenge Cup?
Yeah, they embarrassed us a little bit in the semi-final. I mean, we put a hell of a lot into the Challenge Cup running in terms of making that one of our kind of big games, if you like, for the season, trying to get to the Challenge Cup semi-finals, then hopefully then kicking on to the final. And yeah, we came away from that game probably a little bit more embarrassed and not kind of happy with the way we performed in that game. So yeah, something to look at. But like I said, that was a cup game. This is a league game. We need to focus on what's here and now. We don't want to look back too much on what happened then. Maybe learn from a few things, but take this game as a new game and attack it from there.
And just lastly from me, where do you feel Warrington are at the moment?
Oh, they're a good team. They've always been a good team. What they're good at is that they're very good at kind of the way they go forward. Their attacking game is very good. They make a lot of meters as a team, and they get a lot of kind of quick play the balls, which sets a platform for you to be able to play off. So for someone like George Williams and Dufty and people like that to be able to play on the back of that, they'll be appreciative of what their backfield and what their forwards do. So they're a good team who need to be where we need to be very wary of them.
Good luck. I'll see you over there on Friday. I'll pass you over to the other boys.
Cheers, JD.
What's up? How you doing?
Hi, Matt. You okay, mate?
Not bad, not bad. Just quickly housekeeping. Just on Ash Golding, I think you said it was a small knock.
Yeah.
Is that nothing too serious, like just a one game type thing?
Yeah, just watch. It won't be out too long, mate.
Did Easton do the injury in the game?
Yeah, in the Catalan game, he did it in the. Was kind of getting a bit of an ascendancy in the second half, and he did it in the middle of that. But again, because we had the momentum and we were kind of on the front foot, he was pushing through, and then he got a knock a little bit later on, and then that was it. That was the game done for Eastham, to be fair.
I know you mentioned Jake Bibby. Obviously, there's Jake Connor as well, who has played centre. Would you consider him at centre, or do you see him still more as a spine player?
Yeah, we put him in the centre against Hull. If you remember when he kind of came on, I've seen him obviously play for Great Britain there and do a fantastic job against somebody like Joseph Manu, who he defended very well that day. So I know Jake's got that ability, but Jake's got a lot of ability that he can bring to us in the spine as well. So the main focus is obviously him being a kind of a spine player. If the team needed it and we needed to look at it, then yeah, definitely I would look at him playing centre because he's got the ability to be able to do it, mate.
Just generally on other stuff, I mean, recruitment, it's that time of year, isn't it? I know that the club's announced Tom Burgess very early. I think there's a few departures that have already been confirmed. In your mind, where are you at right now in terms of what you've done so far, what else you'd like to do?
Yeah, the big focus is obviously on the here and now and what we've got here, because we've got ourselves in a very, very tough spot. But the season's not over by any stretch of the imagination, and you never give up on anything, and you want to try and compete and earn your right to finish really strongly and hopefully get a real good run together that you can get into the playoffs. But you've always got to have an eye on kind of recruitment and what you want to bring in for next year. And there's certain positions we've looked at and certain positions that we've discussed within the club that is where for us where we need to be better is we need probably a higher level kind of player and a higher level of champion kind of type player. So, but it's very difficult to go out there and get them. And that's why building some of the people, if you look at Harry Rushton, Sam Hewitt, Sam Halsall, people like them, some of the younger players in there, Hugo, Elliot Wallace, the young players who've not played loads of games, but they are going to be really good players. Talking about Aidan McGowan before, about the way he goes about his professionalism. Them guys do that, but they're not at that kind of top tier level yet because they're young and they're learning the game. But what we need to do is make sure that we've got some real kind of top players in and around them.
Where are you at with the likes of Kev, Leroy, Adam Milner? I think's another one. Because obviously you're getting to a point where you kind of need to know where you're at with them to know what else you need to do. So I'm assuming their futures come to a head one way or another sooner rather than later.
Yeah, obviously we'll discuss that with them individually. I can tell you all three of them are good people and great kind of players in their own right. Leroy, yeah, Leroy's Huddersfield Leroy. I think Leroy will tell you when it's his time to finish playing more so than anyone else. Kev again, champion bloke, mate. Top player. Great for your environment, great for your team leadership, everything in and around there. And Milner's of a similar ilk, but I suppose it all comes down to kind of what we do from here and performances kind of going forward, to make sure that we get them all boxed off, if you like, or let everybody know where everybody stands as we go forward. So it's always an ongoing thing, mate. But we've had talks, obviously, with Leroy, with the individuals, with Kev. Milnes is one who we probably obviously need to have a little chat with in and around. I know he was just head down working hard on the season and cracking on from there. So we'll have to have them conversations as we go forward, mate, as you do quite a lot of the time anyway with most players.
And just finally for me, just going back to Ken, I know you said that he comes in regularly. It's not anything unusual. What sort of presence does he bring to the group? And when he comes in, I suppose I'm just intrigued and curious what sort of things he is saying to the group. Like what's his message? What's his aura sort of thing?
He's the owner. He's the owner. He runs the club. He's every right to come in. People probably obviously think sometimes it might be a bit strange, but owners come in and they talk to him. Probably some owners are there every single day. Some are probably not. Some are probably a little bit more aloof. But when he talks to us about doing like the right things and making sure that as individuals we accept our responsibility and we do our job, basically to the best of our ability. So yeah, like I say, they're generally pretty decent meetings or get-togethers, if you like, or once kind of Ken comes in, and you think all the players receive it generally pretty well. But like I say, he's the owner, so he's got that aura from him. So it'd probably be nothing out of the ordinary, mate. It is what it is.
Cheers, what's up?
Cheers, mate.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Hi, mate. You okay, James?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just a few from me. You've obviously mentioned Jake quite a lot there, Jake Connor. There was some loan talk before the break. Is he likely to stay at the club for the rest of the year now then?
Yeah, well, I think so. He's one of our players, mate. You kind of can always never say never in certain situations, but he's one of our players. And like I say, Jake's, like we've had a tough time, Jake's had a tough time in terms of playing, and everybody kind of gets them ups and downs, and you don't want too many of them. But Jake's our player. We brought Jake to Huddersfield to kind of play and be a part of this team and part of this squad. And over the last couple of weeks, he's not been in there. Before that, he was in there. So yeah, it's just them ups and downs. So at the moment, this week we've had no inquiries about it, but we're not looking at anything else. We've just been training as a team and focusing on Warrington rather than focusing on everything. We can't control everything else. Get asked a lot of questions about a load of other stuff. There's a hell of a lot of stuff that we can't control and we don't control. Little things like the illness thing, we can't control that. We can't do anything about that. We've just got to deal with it and handle it, and that's what Jake's been doing in this situation. The one thing I will say is he has had his head down and been working hard.
Yeah, you mentioned just then about the focus is on salvaging this season. You need to overturn a 6-point deficit, don't you, in these last 12 games to reach the playoffs. So you're going to have to be near perfect to get in, do you think?
Yeah, well, what we need to be is play like we did in the first half against Hull KR and play like we did in the second half against Catalan and start stringing 80-minute performances together. I think the one thing you can see from us is we're very inconsistent at the moment in how we play. 1 minute we look like nobody's troubling us and we're in control, and then the other times you look at it and it's like we don't know each other and we're playing a different way, and rather than just kind of backing each other and playing to our strengths, basically. But when we do that, I think we've been good in them games. That's the really difficult thing. You look at the second half against Catalan and we're great. The first half, we made that many errors. We're defending too much. But you then look at the defensive side of stuff and you go, wow, we make more tackles than everybody else, but we're missing less tackles than everybody else. which actually tells you your defensive system's actually reasonably pretty decent. But we're not stringing the consistent performances together of what we want to do to be classed as a top 6 team. The top 6 teams are the top 6 teams because they're more consistent than everybody else. And it's pretty simple as that. They're probably making less errors, and they're probably better disciplined as well than what them teams are who are in kind of the bottom 6, if you like.
Yeah. What do you put that inconsistency within in games down to? Is it a mentality thing?
So a lot of it sometimes can be a concentration thing, a focus thing. There's no explaining. Nobody goes out there to just drop a ball or throw a ball in touch or anything like that. But it happens, and then it's about kind of responding kind of positively to that, where sometimes if it's not going your way, it might be a negative, or you might feel like it's a little bit of a negative, and that's how the team then responds.
Yeah. So just finally, it's been quite a big drop off, hasn't it, since 2022 in terms of the position on the ladder and performances, I guess. As a coach, are you confident you can get the club back to those levels again?
Yeah, mate. Last year was last year. The amount of stuff that went on last year was unbelievable in terms of the amount of injuries. You take Tio out of any team. You watched Tio play against us last week, and you watch him when he's been playing for Catalan early on in the year. You take a player of Tio out of your team, and that's massive. And that's only one player that I'm talking about from last year. So last year was last year. This year again, there's a whole lot of different things kind of cropping up. There's the inconsistency is probably more of the worry, because at one hand we look fantastic, and then on the other hand we look terrible. And I get that, but it's for us to try and get on top of that and try and make us be as consistent as we can. And the boys are trying, and the boys are working hard, and they are trying to get to that consistent level. So yeah, we'll see where we are. We again, I go back to having 8 changes at the start of the year. When you're changing a hell of a lot of people, well, your consistency does struggle on the back end of that. But we obviously do need to be better on it. It goes without saying.
Yeah. Is a focus now to get a settled group then, and not make too many changes this year?
That's what you'd ideally want, but what we're talking about again this week. So I don't think, again, and this happened last year as well. You go back to 22, and the one thing that we could do is probably generally name probably 3/4 of a side week in, week out. Last year we couldn't do that. This year we're struggling to kind of do that all the time, and it's not always through selection or choice. It's just because you're reacting to what's happening. So this week we're reacting to a little bit of like illness, rather than what you'd like to be proactive and just say, there's your team, boom, 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 and continue to go on that. You look at most of the other teams, and they're probably not having to deal with that.
Yeah. And I guess it's same year on year as well with recruitment as well. When you lose Luke Yates and Esan Masters, you have to start again, don't you?
Yeah. Well, what we spoke about Aidan McGowan before, doing the things of what we want them to do or what we're training to do, he's showing bits of that. Connor Carr was fantastic at Bradford earlier on in the year, and he was doing everything what we teach, like the outside backs, to do. And he looked phenomenal, but then he's gone and got injured on the back of it, where he was actually looking like he could start to push to be getting to the first team at some point. And that's what you want him to do. But then things happen, injuries happen, and you've got to adapt and you've got to move forward from it. But yeah, it's not great when you have to keep starting again.